You don't have a song you would put on? No Freebird? No.
There is one, and it was actually the song that me and Ollie would always listen to at LAN.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not him. I bet you don't dream of me. Do you dream of him and kittens? Trees, maybe?
The song was Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks.
Okay, great song. Do you know, I once had Parker tell me that I look like a Stevie Nicks poster, but it's a modern day Stevie Nicks poster, and she's gorgeous. Okay. But she's also in like her 60s, 70s. I'm not. So I think it was a little bit cruel of him, but also I will take that. Anyway, Edge of 17, great song. Everyone, chat, I hope you have your pre-game songs. Frex is gone now. It's time to step in. The winner of this gets themselves that place, that coveted position in the major. Keeps themselves fighting, gives themselves a chance at many other possibilities. And as it was pointed out for Wolves, this is it demo. If it goes away today, outside of a 5th place commiseration games, that's all she wrote.
Do or die. That's it. But again, like I said, it's the mental game for Wolves, and you know, the siege that we were able to see against Secret was top quality. You know, we looked at that layer and we thought, wow, these attacks are perfection a lot of the time. And then they just completely capitulate, and they go off the rails. So we'll see what the approach is going to be here from Wolves. Obviously for BDS, this is, you know, their chance of getting into the major. Didn't even make it to the playoffs in the last stage, don't forget. So certainly for BDS, they've improved from where they were in the last stage, but they want to keep on improving. They want to get to that major, of course.
So we start our dance here as we had a conversation about strong maps, and I really want to see strong performances. I don't need to be the one to remind Wolves fans how close they were. BDS fans as well, being able to get themselves off to a decent start and then it drifting away in the upper bracket. It was that shame moment, right? Where you go, it's a shame not everybody can make it. But if everybody could make it, you wouldn't have the stakes, the pressure, and the joy that comes alongside where we get to here now. The start of the pinch. Top of yellow. They're going to see if they can maybe try and pull out whoever's in this position. They've got the Deimos on one side. The Dockerby stacking up as well as some cover on the skylight itself. It's slow and cautious, but just a split second to a snap as Robbie takes the first blow of damage behind the reception desk. He's trying to check people in, but unfortunately they're carrying contraband, which is, well, they're using it to shoot him in the face.
I like the approach here from Wolves. Getting into the building very quick. You've seen that earlier on, they entered in through the secret tunnel and also in through yellow. So there's no real intention here from Wolves to kind of go upstairs and attack the roamers above, which is generically what we expect to see. This is a horizontal take. Now, the main thing to keep in mind is, for Wolves, how are they going to drag those players from the vert out of position? Because you can't plan. You know, there's going to be lines of sight everywhere. Breeds. Maybe he can try and pick up a player who's stuck in the bomb site using the Deimos track. Nate comes in, but no, misses the player as he skirts across. But really, for Wolves, I think they're just waiting for that first pick, and Creed's just trying his best to get it, but just won't come.
Well, the leader's been able to put some pressure on towards the site itself, but they haven't cleared out the vertical. As you said, they're trying to do something else, but, well, something else hasn't worked. And off the piece, first site selection has sort of done wonders here. Kreese does finally find first as the fight still echoes its way back and forth. Think about the position that Freck is in. He's only got an open door behind him. He's almost entering the building. And he still wins it out as a court. And now as Creed suffers bites from the sky, even he's worried about being surrounded by his own team. 20 seconds left, just drifting past these open angles, and this has been a bit of a false start here for Wolves. Too many options, too many avenues, and too many bloody BDS players all paying attention towards them. Great comms! I didn't even know the shotgun had that range. But it does, and Freck didn't leave the doorway, but, well, neither did anyone who stood against him.
I see the intention there from Wolves. I think the idea was they were going to push in horizontally, kill the players who would be in the bomb site, and there's 2 of those. Obviously use the Deimos downstairs, open up, you know, the bench walls, just try and pick off the 2 players in the bomb site. Now, if they were able to get to that stage, I think the intention was they were going to try and go in for the plant and then utilize the Capitao bolt to smoke off the vert angles and then go in for their plant. But the issue that I seen inherently there from Wolves, not that the strategy wasn't going to work, because very well could have. You know, you get those picks, you could smoke, you could do all I just said. I think the issue was, if the kills don't come, then what's your plan B? There was never going to be a plan B with that strategy. Everything had to go perfect. You know, there's no possible way that they could lose some kills, get some kills back, and still go for that push. I don't see that happening. And even if you just look at the way that Wolves died, a lot of their players were just by themselves. There was no real potential for trades either, so they're just relying on individuals to win their one-on-one gunfights. And again, if you don't win those, what's your plan B? You don't have that. So I like the idea from Wolves. The execution didn't pay off, and the issue is if the execution doesn't pay off, there's no way to salvage that round.
With that, as a keen opener here for BDS. They'll get themselves rotating up towards the top floor, and maybe the more familiar ground will be something they can set foot in and set more of a foot in inside. They weren't actually that shy of getting in towards the building, but as you said, the Wolves' approach plan just didn't quite have the teeth required against the BDS wall. Leader might be the start of a confrontation. Fret, not a million miles away from where he caused so much destruction the last time round, but he's just being held at bay. Ooh, great pinch onto one. The blinds come out as Robbie gets tired on the split, but look at the plant. It's being confirmed inside the side as a Glaz goes fishing. Fret wins out underneath, but it's suddenly a post-plant position, and they're off towards the fight elsewhere. Virtue, he's giving himself a swing-out option here on towards the window position, but they're watching it from the rooftop, so we can't quite take this cleanly as Noodle wins out against Robbie. Virtue gets the head of Azza, but there's 30 seconds. There is still one more on a rappel, and they're going to do a double run out by the thought of it, but it's only 2 of them left. And in this sort of situation, as you're the attackers, are you going to pull yourself back? No! They try and drive in inside. It doesn't quite come out. There's the run out as well, and oh, he's able to draw his attention away. They can go on the kit, and Freck, I swear to you, he's gotten 6 kills from what must be about 30 square feet.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I mean, it's just Freck, really? Past 2 rounds, just been on it. Look at what he's been able to do. What a cracking shot onto, I believe it was Noodle on the glass, pushing into the reception desk to try and get him. Freck's just better, really. Yeah, you look at that take from Wolves. They've tried something that I don't think we've seen for quite a while, as far as I'm aware, in any competitive place in Consulate. The swing in through the kind of connector window and go for the plant. I remember we had seen that quite a few times whenever Consulate was kind of like new in the pool, but it's very rare we would ever see that actually be utilized. But they've went for it, you know, because it's almost so, you know, easy to defend because it takes like 1 C4 over the top. That's why a lot of teams don't go for it. It almost becomes, you know, unpredictable in a sense because it's done, you know, just not frequent enough for BDS to maybe catch on to that. And really, once that plant goes down, you just sit and hold in the window. BDS immediately think, okay, we need to play for the retake. You know what was actually the biggest saving grace? And I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know, you know, what the plan was, but BDS did not reinforce that exterior wall. We always see that wall be reinforced if it's for that top floor, always. But the fact that it wasn't allowed, I believe it was Virtue, to open up a way out for himself and challenge onto that window too. I mean, I don't know, was that planned? Was that intentional? Did somebody forget to do their prep? I don't know. But somehow it's worked out for BDS, and that's the main thing.
Well, it's come together, and, you know, they sort of, as I said, double stacked on the run out. There was only 2 left. It was the smart move to make. They made sure they were to get that engagement, but Freck winning the first one internally as well, it just sort of shows how important, because if that had gone away from them, they don't have that player underneath. They're playing with 2 above, fine, but you've got a window player to clear as well as potentially threat from underneath. Probably would have taken the round away. I mean, an exceptional opening here for Freck on what has been these first 2 rounds. How much longer will it continue, and how much longer will it continue until Wolves decide to stop it and call a timeout for those sort of double-sided conversations? You're on your attack on Consulate, fine. Have a chance in the second half, but as it was almost said by, you know, sort of put, in fact, by you at the start of this, of the mentality of whether you're going to win or lose, the stresses of that sometimes often come into play with these sort of moments. This will be the most stressed Wolves have been probably of any of the series that they've played, and those little moments, those little mistakes just kind of pull at you, and even if they're not mistakes, just things going awry. In on the side with the IQ.
Reloading.
Gets in on the top floor, a minute 30, and then getting some of this structure pulled apart here on towards admin, on towards the stress of the verticality. They're looking, obviously, towards the chance at a split site here, but in terms of the pressure on the site, maybe the slowest that we've seen of the three. Definitely slower than the last round, obviously. They almost seem a bit more cautious here, Demo.
I think you need to be in this bomb site. I think whenever you know there's going to be the split bomb site, information is going to be pretty key for BDS. So that's why you'll see operators like Valkyrie, like Pulse also being brought in for this bomb site. Very common to see. So that's why Wolves have been forced with that IQ now. And again, it's getting good value, you know, being able to pick off those Valkyrie cameras. But again, for Wolves, it's just gathering all that information, kind of figuring out, okay, where are they? What can we do? And you can see that Wolves, they're just trying to take, you know, as much as they can. But the issue is it's going to be for that planet. How do you safely go for the planet knowing that there will be C4s to go against?
Well, there is the first defender. It's actually been a statistic they haven't been a million miles from, but there's the response that's also just been powerful enough for BDS to regain that control multiple times too there. Ian, going for a cautious plant. There's a pre-placed C4 that's a bit too far away from the water, and oh, they find a place to land. There's another C4 that connects. It's suddenly a 4 versus 2. I complimented how they took the revenge and response last time round, and now watching from the long play above, both double stacked on this verticality, knowing that they cannot sit, they cannot leave the pinch potential. They're wondering just where they are, but look at this, the Azami. P4 wants to try and go for the swing. They have an awareness. There's the first take. Drifts past the door on the reload. They're going to try and apply pressure, and there's Robbie winning it out with the dig. Kind of filthy. They've got the keepers to try and stop it. It cuts the angle. They can't quite get there in time. They're looking for the fight. They're looking in the wrong place.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Again for Wolves. It's just not there. Wolves have been able to get the plant down twice. And each time, BDS have perfectly went for the retake. I will say, I think for that round, I don't think the intention was to play a retake strategy. Obviously, BDS were hoping that they'd just stop the plant with the C4s. But look how quickly they move into action. As soon as that diffuser gets planted, they know, okay, we botched it. Now we have to play retake. And they're being very clever of how they're doing it.
I was going to say, I love the use of the keepers to stop them having the angle. They lost the first kill. They worked out where the players was. Robbie swinging and winning with a deagle on Coffin is not a bankable amount of money, but that's the confidence BDS are playing with, and also the lack, unfortunately, that Wolves are playing with. But just throwing them off the groove a little bit, making sure they can't play the win con in that manner. I mean, you don't really expect... Okay, let's be real. If you're on a team and you look at your Azami and it's a post-plant where the plant went down with, what, 30 seconds left? And they have 3 keepers in their pocket, you're probably going to be a bit like, why have you not used these? And then it's like, oh, okay, great. We have the best possible resource right now for a retake. Amazing. Freck died. Washed, mate. 6 and 1. Can it. Chalk it. Oh, P4 is even feeling it. And there goes the kit. And your hard breach.
Yep.
You have at least the pocket on Tyrant, but still.
Look, I know it's consulate defense. This is usually what tends to happen, but right now, Wolves are just not winning the engagements. They're not winning gunfights. Yeah, I think BDS, the confidence with them. Frank's having a good game, which already is something you don't want to see if you're up against BDS, because we know what that guy can do. And really, for last stage, we've seen the performances where he just put his team on his back and carried them to a win. So for Wolves, just nothing's going right. Now, they have spotted out a player just stood on a clutch drone. But who's going to actually move in there and see if they can get the pick? To be anyone, I mean, it just feels as though Wolves are playing just very timid. You know, they're not really wanting to take some of these engagements. And I think a lot of the rounds, it just feels as though they're just kind of just bobbing about, you know, not doing much.
Well, that's, I think, the split of it, right? And now as, you know, they get Robbie, they get one back. but they've been pulled into a weird shape. They're obviously not going to have the same approach they wanted. Freck is still doing Freck things. As they try and put the pressure down the long corridor, Lasmo is able to win out one, and Freck still happy to play around bending. They're just looking for fights here, BDS. They know they've got them on the run. They know they've got a lot of pressure. The two remaining Wolves players are double stacked on top spiral. They're only able to push the same angle, but they can't even push cleanly for the fight itself. There's somebody underneath in case they try and rotate. BDS have just gone, yeah, we've surrounded you. What are you going to do? There was 4 different angles they had on those last 2 remaining players. They are being relentless against Wolves' approach.
Yeah. That was beautiful, that triple crossfire. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Always the issue with that front desk is there's quite a lot of, there's 4 doors that lead into that one room, and for the attackers, walking in through one and having a defender in each of the other, you're walking into a triangle of death. But BDS, the basics, they're doing really, really well. They're helping each other, which is one thing I've noticed. If one person is getting pressured, somebody is running towards to help them. Yeah? They're lifting each other up. Whereas Wolves, nah, not really interested. Not interested. They're just doing their own thing. Everyone just going one by one. No trades at all. The trade game is abysmal from Wolves. Look at their kills.
And look at Frex. He is more than the whole team put together. 2 more, in fact. He's clearing them. Why haven't they taken a timeout, Demo?
10 seconds to go.
What's the game plan here? Because I know we all know that Consulate is defender-sided, but surely, right?
Well, I think it's more the fact of they want to keep that timeout for the defensive half, I would say. That would be my understanding, because it's going to be their stronger side, you know? And obviously for Wolves, whenever it comes to attacks on Consulate, I don't think that this team's good enough to also clean sweep their own defenses. They need an attack, sorry. Correct grammar is always a key thing.
It's all right.
In our line of work.
Words
they
is
need
what
an
we
attack.
job.
Yeah, just the one.
I mean, okay, fine. I get the logic, I get the theory, but it doesn't mean I agree with taking the test. And at this point, BDS angling and very excited about the prospect of getting to their map after this. It might be worth sort of noting. They have themselves concerned and locked down with the flank game. It hasn't actually been the biggest draw, to be fair, of BDS's defensive style. Sure, they've played some positions that are slightly further away from the side itself, but how well connected they are and how they respond to the approach when it hits them front on and they win these engagements so consistently seems to be the mark of this team's drive. There's some pressure coming in from underneath. They've got eyes inside piano. There could be the drop on the hatch itself. There's a fight that P4 is a little bit worse to wear on, but as the blind pressure comes through, Lasmo takes the next bit of damage, and a smoke canister will just make sure there's nothing behind the Candela. That's the purpose. Draw out their utility, draw out everything they can to try and stop you, and play this game. As long as the timer ticks away, the defenders are happier for it.
And not a lot happening for Wolves. Just nobody really wants to get in there, and gonna try and execute. I mean, this is a fairly typical thing that they're doing. Just gonna try and swing in through the window, but they are gonna be smoked out at the moment. The opening pick does go Wolves' way. Noodle able to pick up one, but P4, look where he is, just prone. Up close and personal, ready to go, but for Wolves, it's just they don't know when they can go. I mean, obviously, Iron is just waiting for it, but
well,
I don't know.
This
Now.
BDS. Creed's has gone down, so 3 of them, I think, or at least 3 of them, slightly changed position. We definitely saw 2 of them go for that. One of them had to sit and wait. It's pulled about 20 seconds out of this approach. They got that first kill. P4's been able to get to this position, which is a wild place to be, but he's still able to net some results from it, and that's the difference. That's the slam. Leader in Azza. Left against Freck, Robbie, and Virtue. There's a C4 at least still in the pocket of one of them. We might not even need to see it, as Leader now is all that's left. 15 seconds. Kit is in Narnia. And so is he. 5 rounds in a row, BDS, and they are on cruise control.
You see, this is where I'm going to be quite critical. And again, Wolves may disagree. I'm sure they do, as they usually do. whenever I think they're in this scenario where things are not going well, yeah, 4-0 down, they know what the next attack is going to be their top floor. They're bringing in the Ying, which usually that leads us to believe that they're just going to go for the kind of typical window, which was the idea. What I don't get is why are they not just full send in a full rush? What do they have to lose at this stage from going for a rush? They haven't done a rush yet, really. I would be full sending shields straight into connector, have Ying, obviously Ying and everything, a buck downstairs, just ripping up the floor so nobody can stop the player swinging in. You know, almost just go for a rank strat. I know that sounds crazy, but really, what else is going for them? They're trying to play slow and methodical against BDS, who have got their number at every turn in that playstyle. Yeah?
10 seconds
The thing is about BDS is that they've never allowed Wolves to have the upper hand at any of these rounds. If Wolves have been able to get a kill, BDS go and get 2 back. That's the way that BDS are playing. And I just think you have to full send. Just win or lose. Scam around almost. You look at this lineup, I see the Blitz be brought in. You know, and this is going to be a basement. Naturally, I think it's going to be maybe just a straight up rush. Down maybe yellow and free sneaker. I don't know. Instead, the Blitz is going to go up to the rooftop, so it's not going to be a rush. We're going to see a roam clear with the Blitz.
I think I was just having a quick sort of scan through their stats across the maps, and you might be able to get it more in depth. I don't think historically they're a big shield team, Wolves.
They don't have a shield player, and that's been the issue, I feel, since Oscar was let go from the team.
Yeah, none of them scream out as being able to pick up that role, and it's a great spot for the meta, but it means that those plays might not work. Creed's round the back with the shotgun, gets Lasmo. There's a great pinch.
That's more like it.
But they then lose Tyrant. They lose the IQ, and you know, we know how powerful Tyrant can be on their day, but here, starting with a sort of matched meter towards the round count, 0 and 6, Virtue gets the swing onto the Blitz. We saw the Blitz drop down, and that's just a man hiding in the corner of the car. Gets the drop on their shield on red. It's a 3 versus 3, but now we're looking at, okay, well, what control do they have? They have Echo drones pinging this all out. You can see Freck is trying to make their way above as well. They've retaken the vertical, and they're almost sitting and waiting, but they don't feel confident enough to hop in and get the plant, because they think as soon as they do, they're going to get shot down. There's Freck taking a bit of damage. They're still watching. All that ground that was taken above on Piano by that Nook, by that Blitz, is already lost. They didn't hold on to it, and now, fine, they got the kill, but as things leveled out, they've got to try and remake it work, and you can see them having to pull out as Robbie wins out against Noodle, going for the D. Creed takes more damage. They've got you outnumbered up here, Nook, and they've just sent them to try and solo rebuild as Frank gets himself a second. There's at least an exit. But he's got to get through an Echo. He's got to get through Freck as well, although Freck just almost gets through himself. Not sure what damage he took there. And at this point, slinking down Spiral. 2 remaining BDS players pulled themselves together. They've still got Banshees to call out awareness and positions, but they're not swinging. They're waiting for the contact. Look at the positions here. One on towards the pipe side, one close towards the left. As soon as he goes through, a flawless BDS half.
Yeah, that's probably the most frustrating round, I think, for Wolves. They change it up, they go aggressive, they take really good map control, they get into the bomb site. Wolves won't have known this, because they don't have the luxury of seeing what we see. They could have easily went for a plant on that yellow pillar.
Oh, yeah.
Since he destroyed that Echo, he should have been straight on that plant. Nobody, I don't think, really could have contested, because the players upstairs for BDS were a little bit unsure of what they wanted to do. You know, they're playing a little bit passive, I feel, on those verts. They weren't just wide swing it. They're still aware that maybe the Nook could still be upstairs somewhere, but I think there was definitely potential there for Wolves to try and stick a plant, maybe even just bait a plant, just anything to get some movement, but they slowed the pace down, and that allowed BDS to recalibrate what they need to do. And we know that BDS so far this game have been brilliant in terms of adaptation and reacting to different situations. You know, they're here in this position in the 3v3, and I think for BDS they were a little bit worried. You know, they lost the echo cam, they lost their eyes in the bomb site. They didn't know if the plant was going to go down, but it didn't happen, and then it allowed BDS, give them the time, get themselves set up, play above on that vert, get themselves into better positions. Yeah, it's a nightmare after Wolves. It really is, and I don't see the 6 rounds coming out anytime soon. I think BDS have all the momentum. Everything's going their way. They're the better team. No doubt about it at the moment.
10 seconds left.
6 rounds in. And Freck
5
is
seconds to
still
go.
on more kills than the entirety of Wolves put together. I mean,
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
what around? He is often somebody that sparks better on defense when he's got more of an option to play around the map and be that problem and be that thorn that you have to pull out. He loves those positions. He probably won't be as effective here on the attack, as statistically he isn't, and it's tougher to try and lead into that. But at the same time, with the energy that he has right now, Wolves have to be as flawless as BDS were on the opening half. The problem is they do not have that lifeline, and if this goes away, well, then obviously we are hurtling on towards Skyscraper, a map we haven't seen recently from Wolves, and a map with a bit of an even split here from the side of BDS. But what is BDS's approach going to be? You can see that Creed's, he's taken a bit of an aggressive stance here on the admin windows. He's sort of basing in the approach, but he's caught. Great pinch, great crossfire. There's a second that's trying to slip their way in, and it's Azza with the C4, but as the Bees don't reveal, because of the mute jammer, gonna have to double check this with a drone, and oh, they just see the legs. They know about him. Doesn't matter. Pre-pep C4, get Robbie, get revenge.
Oh, Freck. Up to his old tricks again. Just slips in, up spiral, takes down Tyrant now. Obviously, this is going to be a full admin take here for BDS, and they have been able to take quite a bit of ground, and this spiral is really the big issue, because you think about where Azra is. He was cut off over towards admin. He's in the hallway. I mean, getting back is going to be difficult for him, and may just have to try and play his life here. You know, they've got pings on, know exactly who they want to try and kill. You should just be waiting until everyone's in position and going for it. You know, Wolves, they went for the double shield ban, so it allows operators like your Grim up, for example, and obviously Virtue with those Bees on this top floor. There's not a lot of safe positions you can really sit. And if, you know, a bee cancer lands at your feet, then yeah, you really are cooked. But it's going to be Azra. That's who they need to try and pick off. That should be who they go for.
45 seconds, they have the man advantage, and they've got Azza held at bay, and it seems like they're not going to try and force in. They're just going to leave somebody on the long watch and get the kit of Virtue closer. But the pressure needs to come from underneath as P4 finds Noodle, and that is that underneath pressure. They now have the verticality, they have this split, they're stunning anyone that spins round, and you have Lasmo on the cover. Azza takes a bit of damage, Lasmo gets a pickup, and that is the whole map. Freck still ends on more kills than the entirety of the opponents put together, and they're going to need to be put back together before they come back on the sort of second map, because Demo, they were in pieces.
Whereas now we go into Skyscraper, where BDS want to be. This is the worry now. It's what are Wolves going to do in Skyscraper, because traditionally, this is a map that they typically will always ban. I think for Wolves, they had to make a big decision today. Obviously, we know that Wolves, in these kind of best of threes, their map pool was exposed. Certainly, I think against Secret. And you kind of look at the way the map pool went out. And even, I think, also against the G2 game the week before, you know, we've seen that Bank was a map that Secret and G2 were happy enough to play Wolves on. Wolves didn't really want to go to Bank, but they had no other choice. It's because their map pool was like really weak. You know, Labs is their permaban. They'll never play Labs. And then Skyscraper was usually the other ban. Today, they went a little bit off field. They banned Bank because they've had a very bad run on it. So that has allowed Skyscraper to get through, and BDS straight away picking into that. So for Wolves, it's going to be more of the challenge of how are you going to do on a map which you have shown to us you don't want to play.
Well, they at least get to start by showing it on their defense. It's sort of that split of a sword, right? In a way, we will have this game decided in probably the opening 4 rounds. If Wolves cannot get a decent handle over the opening 4 rounds here on their defense, on Sky against BDS, I think we're done. I think at that point, you're probably just looking and waiting for this to find its way towards finish, because you need to have not only that statistical benefit, but also the pressures that you can apply. Fine, BDS, they prefer this map. They pick it. They don't ban it. It's picked against them, and they do all right with it. They've taken great teams on Sky over the past 6 months towards the end, including G2, who had a win on it just earlier this day. But most of that comes on their defense. Most of that, for any team around the world, comes on their defense. And that's why, even if they have that boon, if they'll start losing it with the mental that we sort of saw falter in the previous map, this is only gonna get worse. The first engagement might come out here on towards, well, either of the balconies, actually. Swinging out either side. Just exploring, looking for somebody on either office or on potentially the museum side or on the geisha bout. But no immediate follow through on the pressure. That's one Capital Bolt caught. There's a chance at a cross angle. They just run their way through. They're able to slip themselves in, which is quite impressive, but there's a close fight, just protected by the soft either side. An LMG can go for a while, but as they've got themselves on karaoke window, Tyrant is the man to stop it. Takes a bit of damage.
Be careful. Making a lot of noise. Again, that LMG can pre-fire, and BDS, you look at the bands, electrification's off the board, just allows them to get in quickly in through geisha, have to worry about a bandit or arcade causing issues.
Reloading.
Obviously for Wolves, losing that geisha, not the greatest of positions to be in, and now they really have to try and fight back from the ground that BDS have been able to take off them. BDS aren't moving, and just wait until everyone's in position. Then you'd expect just a massive util dump. You look what they still have. Capital's there with the util. You've got nades, you've got flashbangs. Well, you did have flashbangs. As Robbie gets taken out, Tyrant with the first pick. Oh, but P4 takes the head off Grease, but Noodle, good trade.
Well, Azza gets Virtue as well, and now, for all the ground they got early on, as Plasma is able to find Azza and keep the pressure up, Freck is caught outside, and they can just do exactly that. Drove themselves in. Now, Freck had an outstanding map in the previous one. We didn't really get a taste of him on the attack apart from a double kill, but as I said, it's nowhere near the sort of same semblance of a Freck that we usually get. So a 1 versus 3, pre-firing the angles, look at the setup of the remaining defenders. The camera's still up as well, so it's just calling and pinging all of this intel. As soon as he tries to go a bit too deep, they'll know exactly that, and they can just do exactly that. Wolves, first round in a long, long time.
Look at the difference between this and Consulate. Trading kills. It's the one thing that Wolves had no intention of doing, was if somebody was dying, nobody was there to really say, oh, well, if you do die, don't worry, I've got you. No, weren't doing that in Consulate. There, straight away, you've seen the trade game in effect. And that's, again, what will win you games. Just basic stuff. Look, Skyscraper, obviously going to be defender-sided. If you thought Consulate was defender-sided, just hold on, wait till you see what happens. Obviously, I think for BDS, is it a case where, yes, they got very early control of geisha, but then they just maybe didn't have just that little bit of something that they were maybe waiting for. Probably the first pick, I think, to open up another area of the map, and then you kind of just collapse at the same time. You know, BDS did a good job getting themselves into geisha, set themselves up, put pressure on Wolves. But again, Wolves, they weren't going to give Drum up for free. They weren't going to give Terrace up for free. They were taking the fight to BDS, which is what you need to see more of whenever it's Skyscraper. You need to put as much pressure as you can on attackers, because you know that the attackers, they're the side that's going to struggle in this map. Just fundamentally, the way the layout of it, where you're pushing a single doorways, or is it too many opportunities for our breaches to make a big impact other than the exterior walls? That's what it's all about in Skyscraper. It's limiting as many options as you can from the attackers, because the attackers already start off with already very limited options. Including
both the time that they met at the best of 1 in the league and the previous map. That now brings the round split between these two teams over the 3 maps to 14 to 2. That is the second round over 3 maps we've now got from Wolves, but what a great start it could be. As I look towards the positives, just to set a scene.
Such a negative Nancy.
No, this is a positive. Because they've ended...
What?
They've ended the deficit. The deficit's passed. This is what I mean. The mental game is so important, because they are up against the scariest nightmare. And they've turned on a nightlight demo. That first round, that's a nightlight. It's a little dinosaur-shaped.
That won't help you.
The second round, that's a lamp. Reload! Third round, that's the big light in a room. You know?
Light.
And suddenly with the big light, you can see it all. But they got to go find that lamp first. Will it help them drive through the dark? Lasmo takes the first bit of damage as the Capitao suffers a little, still trying to lead in and almost led out. He was the only one that was negative on the entry last time. Well, P4 gets one before. As you said, Noodle instantly with the trade. Freck then takes a bit of damage. He's getting stuck in much earlier rather than sitting and waiting. But Tyrant, he gets stuck in. He's 2-0 so far. He was sort of missing in the first map. And now he's been able to get off to at least a double across the opening 2 rounds.
BDS tried to take, again, just that fast control of areas, but Wolves not giving it up for free. I mean, whenever Wolves have operators like your Mira, like your Azami, these are massive players in the defensive skyscraper. I said before how restricted you are as the attacker in this map, where you have to push in through these doorways. Having operators who can just stop that from happening is massive. How's Robbie just slipped in through Dragon? BDS are in. Oh no! What's happened to Wolves? They've collapsed.
Uh-oh. Seems like the lamp might be unplugged. Virtue, he's going to get that plant secured as Leader is stuck at the top of the VIP stairs. And also held out by fire. They don't really need the remaining gadgetry because they can just do that. BDS. I mean, fine, it's a traded round, but it's not a great feeling of how it came to be, Demo.
Yeah, they had to just make a play. And obviously Robbie did that. Just found a gap. Seen the gap, went for the gap. Yeah, I mean, BDS, able to turn that round on its head. You've mentioned the lamp quite a lot. You're against the Mothman. He likes lamps.
Oh no, it's Mothman. I mean, that just...
Great opportunity, it's fine.
Yeah, it's got to be, but it's also sort of what we complimented them on about on their defense, right? On the previous map was opportunity spotting. BDS were frequently stepping in to Wolves' fights. They were setting up crossfires, and as I said, the first 4 rounds, it's going to dictate this.
Well, G2 were able to clean up against Genji on a 4-2 half, I believe. So, really, if you get the 2 rounds, you're kind of safe, I think, a lot of the time with Skyscraper. So, just with how this map is, and I think with the restrictions that the attackers have to go through, on your defensive half, you need to get, I think, a 5-1 here for Wolves. That's the only saving grace that I can see. Because their attacks, after what's happened in Consulate, and we know Skyscraper is an even tougher map to play, it doesn't fill us with a lot of joy. So, for Wolves, I just feel as though they can't afford to lose another defense.
Well, let's see if BDS can sort of get the swap round of saying, okay, fine, we lost 1 round, but that's it. Now, the way that they started to piece that one back is also sort of paramount to the changes. I think you sort of made comment before that the bans that came through on towards the side of Consulate from the side of Wolves was 2 shields. They've gone entirely in the opposite era. They've removed the Grim, they've removed the Deimos, they've removed those sort of drive in and put the pressure on vertically and underneath, and you know, the swap out, as we sort of had a conversation before, is you've also then got Capitao and Ying to try and do that point play. But
I'll take a lot of references from obviously the Skyscraper game, and you know, we've seen Grim be banned out, you know, we've seen Ying be banned out, and it's just the effect that you have on a map where it is for the attackers going to have to be forced around utility dumping a lot of the very strong power positions that the defenders have. If you remove some of them off the board, it just makes those defenses even stronger. So I think with the Grim edition, yeah, fantastic ban, especially whenever, you know, Virtue, it'll play the operator, no problems at all with playing the Grim.
Well, as Lasmo hops in towards Geisha, gets one, and gets the down on Creeds on the second. They tried to get the trade out, couldn't quite make the connection. Tyrant follows suit, and Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Leader. Well, they'll call out his position. He's giving himself an angle and does get Robbie on the back of it. A bit overzealous there, but think about where the kid is and how they've got to try and get it across. Ooh, very strange timing there. But it's caused a pause. And he's going to pop his way back in towards the site as bullets slip over the top. You can see the BDS, they're waiting. And then they just do that. 2-1. BDS have gotten 2 of their opening 3 attacks. on Skyscraper.
There was probably 2 kills there that BDS got from Wolves players swinging onto exterior angles. You think about that first pick, Noodle running out of the terrace door onto the balcony. Just dies from a guy in the rappel. You look at Azur, swings onto the Geisha balcony, onto again, another player outside. Why are Wolves making these kills easy? Why?
I wish I could answer.
It's like that chicken metaphor. You're at the restaurant and the chicken's walked up to the plate and said, "Kill me."
Bombs.
You have to go and catch the chicken. Chicken doesn't come to you.
Does that happen to you often?
I have to go and catch my own chicken.
Yeah.
Of
I know you
course,
live
all the time.
in the countryside.
Yeah, I do.
See, maybe I'm spoiled. 2-1.
But you townies always are.
I know. Me, the city slicker that I am. BDS sit 2-1 up,
10 seconds
and
left
Wolves
before
won
insertion.
this site before, but think about how it started. With
5 seconds
BDS
remaining.
getting a lot of territory very quickly.
Attackers'
Freck
objective
dropped
is to
off the
locate a
killing
bomb
game.
and defuse
Oh,
it.
and 2. Terrible. Where's he gone? Oh, wait. Virtue and Lasmo. 8 and 2 between the pair of them. Your backline sort of players. You know, they sort of highlighted it. They said on the desk, when your 3 fragments of BDS start to pop off, this is what BDS can be. Okay, but then when your backline is able to pull rounds together, when your support structure is operating at this level, what does it sort of say about the team then, Demo? Oh, well, there's one less fragger.
D4, an early death, and what that's been able to remove, I was going to say hard breach gadgets, and also the hard breacher's gone.
Womp womp.
So you think about the bans that BDS had let in towards the double electrification to make these, these walls being opened up a lot quicker and a lot easier. They can't open any of them now. So this is a massive issue here for BDS. And don't forget, they're already a gun down because they brought in the Monty. So it's going to be 2 guns and a shield up against the 5 players of Wolves. And in terms of what they have to deal with the Monty, you've still got the smoke there with free smoke canisters. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue.
Virtue takes a side full of shrapnel, not to change, as Robbie comes in for support and goes out. And then Creeds gets Virtue as well. Well, they can at least win this site, but the map has been very different here for Wolves. They're in a 5 versus 1. I mean, it's not technically over. Freck has a lot of time, but at this point, it's only really Wolves' to throw away. They set themselves up in these power positions. They got themselves the full stretch of the map. And they made sure that as soon as they tried to enter anywhere, there could be a response. The Keepers will keep them away from entering on the top. And at this point, what do you do?
It's a write-off, isn't it? It's like you've went out in your Volkswagen Golf on an icy road. That's done. That's it.
It's done. Car's upside down.
That's it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you lose the hard breach. I mean, that was obviously their plan with bringing in the Thermite. You want to get in towards Geisha again, but you just lose that from the rip. Never going to really get anything going from there, so Freck. But yeah, so may he try to get some kills on the board, but that's really it. I don't think he's going to be able to watch this anytime soon. And yeah, for Wolves, another defense still. Gonna be tough, because don't forget, BDS still have another 2 attacks, and
Oh, yeah.
obviously for this bomb site, this was the only other bomb site that Wolves have won. The other 2 places that they went, they'd lost. So for Wolves, struggle isn't going to be on their tea and karaoke defenses. It's now that they have to go in towards VIP, into kitchen. That's the issue.
Don't get me wrong, this has been a round that they've very much lost. But you could, I think, get to the end of the half, and BDS will probably still be happy with the 2 that they've got, right? As you said, you can get a 2 to 4 on 1. You could split onto the other side of Skyscraper, and you're not a million miles away from a full success.
What do you mean, come on? You're baiting for kills. What are you saying, come on? You're not pushing them either, mate. They're not going to give you freebies. I think this is charity shop.
No. Got to earn your kills here. Back in my day, I'd have to go 10 miles uphill to get my kills. Both ways.
Back in my day, you'd have a Reddit post if you did that.
They might have a Reddit post up.
I'll make a Reddit post about that, please.
All right. I'm gonna make a Reddit post about P4's Labubu's.
New magazines. Activating jammer.
Do you have a Labubu?
I don't even know what that is.
You maybe, yeah, I can see that. You could probably take this as a compliment. You may be the least likely person I think I would ever know
Right.
to own one.
Reinforcing wall.
Thank you. Don't know what
I
that
don't
is.
even truly know what they are, other than apparently they're cool. So
Yeah.
we're not the duo to know this.
Who would?
5 seconds
Alfama.
left before insertion.
He's very
Tino?
cool. I sent him a text at 2 in the morning last night because I have a terrible sleeping pattern. I want to shoot a piece of content, and this is just an open pitch to everybody, I guess. Because I think he could star in, like, you know, like those Thierry Henry coffee adverts. That is how I would describe Leo's style and existence.
Yeah, well, do you see the fit today? He's doing the Eden fit. Again, shout out to Eden. Everyone knows the fit. The jeans, brown belt, shirt tucked in. Classic.
It's the classic fit, and the classic fit for Robbie. This map is be gone almost immediately, actually. It's twice he's been the opening death. He hasn't quite found the success on that statistic as he has before. And it gives them no buck. None of that vertical pressure that they could apply underneath the site itself if they want to try and shepherd these players out. There's still this stretch. Wolves, they're starting to find their fangs a bit across the entirety of the map. Fine, you can get the pings out, but they're actually kind of happy to take the engagements and look at the crouch position on towards the main stairs, on towards Geisha. BDS trying to run the numbers.
Not a lot happened here for BDS. I mean, very timid right now to actually get themselves into the building, which is strange considering how quick, you know, we've seen in previous rounds that they're able to enter into a room and establish a bit of a beachhead, but Geisha, what they're trying to get into, but nobody really wanting to jump on that opportunity. And you look at Wolves, how closely they're playing together. They're ready for those trays if they have to make them. Another one falls for BDS. Crack his way in. He knows where to look for these players, and Home misses his spray. How on earth? There we go. Finally, Kreese has been taken out. I'm surprised that the player mainstairs didn't jump with the opportunity to actually just kill Freck, but said leader has ran all the way downstairs in towards Pantry, and BDS have at least got Geisha control, but that's it. They still have to get into the bomb site. I mean, this is the main worry that you have, really. What else do they have left? They've got 2 free flashbangs, and that is it. No nades, no nothing like that to really force players out of positions.
Yeah, it's this sort of position with 50 seconds left, and they still have a lot of that work to do in terms of just shepherding the players. As you said, too hard breach is fine, but you assume they've already got the walls open that they actually want, and they don't have that sneaky route up play that they're able to make stick before. Still trying to fight over Dragon, still trying to fight over Terrace, and they do get leader underneath, 30 seconds, but as Freck takes a bit of a surprise strike either side, look at the positions he's got to sign to enter and put the pressure on. They're flashing themselves in. Minibar is still stocked with a player. If they want to go for the route, they actually run outside to give the game away. There's the cross from the other side, but P4 gets himself a third. They do not have a lot of time for this. They're just going to have to try and send it in. There's the cover, there's the pistol, there's 3 seconds, there's the pop-up and the drop down. They need to hold the plant though. Wolves do enough.
Just about get it over the line. A little bit sketchy for Wolves, but I think a very strong opening half of that game, or that round, sorry. Just won them that round pretty confidently. BDS struggled for a long time to get themselves in towards Geisha. And then really, the minute mark, whenever they got control of Geisha, just doesn't leave you with a whole lot of time, and you can see that that's what ended the round for BDS. So 3-2 as we move into our final defense for Wolves, and it is around that they simply need to win. There's no 2 ways about it.
They're getting close, but as you said, there's no 2 ways of how this can come together, and this has got to be the one. And this is that one where, I mean, think about how this one came to the pass at the end. It was a 3 versus 1. They were trying to fight to get back onto their own site. A little bit of a mistake, a snafu with the smoke as they went for the rotate back round, but otherwise,
10
pretty
seconds to
handy,
go.
this BDS win out. says a lot about the sort of overall EPS. They obviously made comment of how good Freck was, over 200. Him being 0-3 now, he's still at overall 14-4 for the series, which is about 140 EPS, which just shows how much of the game he dictated on map 1. Even though P4 and Virtue have got themselves off to very strong sort of starts throughout the series as well, it's still something that's a bit of a drift. The entry statistic has generically been pretty good across the entirety of the day, especially for Creeds, who's kept on being that sort of problematic opener. BDS to have to deal with. There's an entrance, some thread of a pinch on towards the top of the black stairs, and they're just going to rotate out. Leader isn't going to see what happens next in that magic trick.
Yeah, the Monty just shoehorning his way in through top black. Great operator to have for this certain take whenever you want to kind of go very minimalistic. I mean, realistically here for BDS, I think it's a case of take top black in towards restaurant and then just walk into barbecue and go for a plant. Don't forget, you've got a blind spot plant in that bomb site where the Monty can put his shield in his back, and you can't really stop him unless you have some explosive denial like your C4. So a lot of pressure here on Tyrant if that plant does come in. But Tyrant, where are you looking? If there's a Monty at the bottom of black stairs, there's probably going to be a guy in restaurant. Now that C4 denial's gone, and straight away Virtue's going in for that plant.
Well, there's the cancel on the plant. Noodle is able to swing around the pressure they have from the verticality, make sure it can't quite be cemented because of the Kiba on the window. Great little combo of utility, and it limits the approach that they can make now. Well, you don't have that shield, you don't have that route in, and instead you're going to have to try and rebuild from this position. Fine, you slipped in, but you know that they're watching, and you know they have the opportunity to try and rebuild themselves. So what do? Robbie goes on a man mission, gets rid of Leader. A minute, they have themselves this man advantage. Oh, the spray through onto Robbie's position. Almost got a lucky headshot as the plant comes together. They've got themselves a little bit safe from the cover. The pings are there, and he just misses. The catch on P4, a step too late to the party as Robbie swings out but gets caught. A 3 versus 2 as the trade does come together. Freck, he's found 2 this round from his start before, and there's 2 more potentially on the board. They've got themselves close. Eyes on. Just going to make sure they have a little bit of cover from the bomb, but it gives themselves just that position. Lasmo swings round. Azza swings right back. 16 seconds. Has to hit the divide, and at this point they could just stack themselves in. That's protection from the verticality. Where is Freck or P4? There they are. Freck gets himself 3 for the round, and they get themselves 3 for the half.
Yeah, really simplistic take from BDS. You knew straight away what they wanted to do. Basically take, what, 10% of the map? That's what they worked with. Top black, into restaurant, and that was it. And obviously for Wolves, they had players inside of karaoke, but like I mentioned, the blind spot plant. Virtue actually didn't go for the blind spot plant, and that's actually why he died. But you can see that Lasmo did go for that expected plant position, tucked right in beside the table. Nobody's there to challenge onto him. The players up inside of karaoke were worried that, hey, if we try and go for this, there's a player in the window, there's a player still remaining top black. Just really simplistic siege there from BDS. And for Wolves, it is a bad half. As far as Skyscraper goes and what we expect to see is the most defender-sided map in the meta, 3 defenses is simply not good enough. So now Wolves, they have to play the best siege of their lives. They do, if they want to pull this out. And here's the thing. We know that they can do it. Just take your minds back to whenever they played against Secret. We sat and we witnessed how that team played Lair and how perfect they were. They're going to have to try and replicate that and do the same as Skyscraper.
Well, this is where things might start to drift away. Wolves have been able to put up the fight. As you said, the 3 isn't good enough, but there's always the possibility of proving everybody wrong, almost in some cases themselves. All of them have been able to get themselves in towards this map, which we definitely obviously did not have on the first map. But we also only really had an attacking half from Wolves, and that's where we're about to go once again. You obviously got all of BDS stepping in as well. It's an even sort of back and forth between these 2 teams. The trade game has been pretty solid as well. Limitations on the electrics, the sort of consistent follow through, but also on the Monty and Ying. slight adaptation compared to their bans before, but with a couple of Yings played by Tyrant, mixed success. I think they just want to have a little bit more safety on those quick swing moments. The break on towards Geisha, get that open up, no problem. And then also not risking the hop out and the pressure, staying on repels and staying a little bit of a distance away from the defenders.
Throwing frag.
Wolves are taking their time, getting their basics done, opening up the breaches. And that's what you expect to see whenever we have a Cade in the ban to ban. Very little issues.
Changing bags.
Now, obviously for Wolves, with that Dokkaebi combination, along with the Deimos, you would expect that roamers shouldn't be too much of an issue for them, and certainly there will be players extend themselves into areas such as Shrine and in towards Drums. Also, I noticed that Virtue is also downstairs too as a smoke, but again, it's just on the black stairs, so not too far away from the site if needed. For Wolves, it's just slow and steady approach, just trying to cut across from one side of the map to the other. There are roamers here. The frack. Towards downstairs right now. That's going to be the player the Tyrant needs to try and deal with if he can. That breach is just going to stop him from jumping in. Didn't full opening on it was impact tricked.
The first engagement is Frex to find. And once again, he's in this position of, well, I'm in this position. Come and try and get me. Come and try and fight me. There's a lot of encircling pressure on P4. You can see the Deimos track. You can see the sort of calls coming out. But because of the fear of what Freck's going to do, they couldn't act and operate on the back of it. They've lost Tyrant, which means they've lost at least a portion of their hard breach, and they lose Noodle as well. Whilst being called and previously tracked, P4 has the confidence to just throw himself out there, and it's almost a stunned silence. The remaining players are in. They're ripping and trying to bait the movement here as Creeds then takes the next bit of damage. You assume from P4 and Samurai window. No, it's Robbie, because why not? This is that response we say happens, and it's another one on the pyre. Leader, all that is left here on what has been a devastating first open, but it is the first open on an attack. It does get P4 with a nice little fadeaway. But with 10 seconds to find 4 more kills or a plant, and he can't even reach the site in that time. Demo, I think we're safe to say this is a 4-3.
Yeah, no time at all for Leader. No, just no nothing yet. Robbie swings in. So Wolves are mentioned about the Dokkaebi that they've brought in. Great for pushing out roamers. Everyone knows that. And especially for Skyscraper, a lot of the time, defenders will try and hold at least, what, 60, 70% of the map at one time? Yeah, just trying to deny the attackers any glimpse of getting into the building. Wolves used 2 Dokkaebi calls back to back. Nobody pushed off. Azure especially. Azure just sat in lobby. He knows there's a guy in the city. He just do nothing. And then he pushes whenever the call's gone.
5 seconds remaining.
You know, just nobody's doing anything. It almost feels as though that Wolves are all sitting back hoping that one of their teammates will do something. But then if nobody's doing anything, this is what happens.
Attackers have located
Someone has to go in there and do... just... come on! Get it going!
4-3. BDS separate themselves from the major by only a couple of rounds at this point, and they seem to have had Wolves, at least Wolves' attack in their pocket all day. And also, last time they played in the best of ones as well, where it was another flawless. It has now been,
Attackers are heading out
well,
to defuse a bomb.
at least 2 maps worth since Wolves have won an attack against a BDS defense. I know I sort of made the comment before where it was technically 14-2 was their past 3 maps performance after that first round. They're 0-15. Oh no, not 0-15, sorry. 0-13 on their attack chances here. 2 0-6 halves.
Sequence activated.
Bit of pressure on towards top VIP. Get themselves opened up, and Robbie opens up Tyrant. Again, the first body gone in the start of this pressure. And now you've got what is a 5 versus 4, but a clash as well, which just makes that feel so oppressive.
Yeah, and Clash is great. I'm really happy that I've seen this operator come out here today. I've seen it being used in the G2 game. And I thought, wow, you just think about how Clash plays out in this map. Whenever you're already dealing with a map where attackers are so restricted with pushing in through like single doorways, especially if you think about this bomb site, right? In context of a VIP defense, a lot of the attacks will come in from drum, in through dragon. Both of those areas are single doorways that you eventually have to kind of walk in through, or well, I guess like maybe a rotate in through dragon, but especially for like the terrace into minibar. Imagine a Clash just sat there. You can't. That already limits one of your two options that you have with attacking into that bomb site. And I think that's the issue that the Clash has. It limits the attackers again, and that's what it's all about in Skyscraper. It's limiting what you can do.
Well, they've been able to get a couple of quick trades back in towards their favor and force them away from Drum. Now, the three remaining Wolves players are trying to now do that big divide, this big cross, which is not easy. But removing P4, getting the Keybers gone, and Robbie as well on the chance to the flank means that they can feel at least a little bit safer. But what do they have in terms of the push and the pressure? No grenades left. They've obviously got one Ash charge, which they could try and utilize and save if the Clash goes for a deployed shield, but they're trying to now cross a divide, which could still obviously include previously set up defenses, barbs, get the plant, get the gates, and get lost noodle. Now they don't have anything. Now they have even less as Creeds is caught, and that is just Leader staring through an electric gate, and the eyes of BDS stare back. One more round into their favor. 2 more rounds away from the Munich Major.
And the issue is here for Wolves is that BDS have just won 2 defenses. Okay, yes, we're now going into another defense that will not be either of the 2 top floor bomb sites. It should be Kitchen. Let's say Wolves win Kitchen. Where do they still have to win if they want to win this map? They have to go and win the 2 bomb sites they've just previously lost. This is the issue now with losing out on that second attack. BDS just flying high with confidence. Yeah. Look at the way that they're maneuvering around the map with such confidence. I've mentioned before the Clash pick, I think, is brilliant for what you want in a map like Skyscraper. Just Wolves, it's the same issues as Consulate. Just can't get anything going. Like, for me as well, really from Wolves, who has had a play?
Not really anybody.
Has anyone had a clutch? Anyone had a big old double free K to change the outcome of round? I don't think we've really screamed Wolves of name today.
The thing is, the problem is bigger, right? As I sort of said, whatever it is about how BDS play defenses, Wolves just cannot crack it as attackers. Yeah. The record to have obviously 2 6-0 halves against them on BDS's defense on the last 2 maps that these 2 teams have played against each other on. One from the season itself, and then one from just earlier today. In towards this, where it might happen again. To have a sort of entirely flawless defensive record for the side of BDS across 3 maps is, I don't know if that statistic in any of our sort of historic showdowns of any tier 1 team versus another tier 1 team exists. Because that's a vast statistic. And we've sort of talked historically about how these 2 orgs once upon a time were bitter rivals, even across previous iterations. Here, this is maybe the biggest curse a Wolves roster has ever had against a BDS roster, in that they have not been able to win a single attack over 2.5 maps worth of them now. And they've got to try and split that divide if they want to have any chance at getting themselves to a major. The Bees, pressure on towards Geisha. Tyrant's going to just use that as the cover as they almost catch Creed's Freck out and about on a bit of a bargee inside Terrace, but as 3 kills go their way, 1 goes away from them. There goes Tyrant, and there might go the hopes and the dreams. Freck cleans up a couple, and I'm glad I'm not the only one sat here, Demo, because I'm a little bit lost. Can you shine a light on this?
Well, it's just very similar to Consul, isn't it? You know, you can see the intentions there from Wolves, but anything that they try that you kind of harped on about, BDS is ready. And this has kind of been, I think, the issue with Wolves and BDS in this matchup over the past year is that BDS has kind of always had Wolves' number. And is it kind of, I mean, To be fair, that's not strange considering that's the way it always used to be as well. Even whenever we had the BDS we now know as Falcons, and obviously the old Wolves team, you know, with Mowgli and Bibu and stuff in there as well. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Different faces, but still similar score lines, the way things have been going. But I mean, BDS, just like even just the little small micro adaptations. Oh, let's throw a frosting. Gets a kill. You know, little things like that. I think BDS are just being very clever. Always just changing things up and keeping Wolves on their toes.
Attackers have located a bomb.
BDS, they are 1 round away from the major, 1 round away from continuing along this lower bracket and finding themselves in a showdown
10
with
seconds
G2.
remaining.
Just immediately after this, and I'm curious how those two
5
teams are going to
seconds
hit
to go.
heads, because obviously then there's the progression along the lower bracket final. They've got to then
Attackers are moving
beat
to
Team
defuse the
Falcons
bomb.
and then maybe eventually Team Secret. So suddenly BDS will go from this showdown, which to be honest, if they do end it in a single round, which they could, very, very warmed up, very confident. G2, they've obviously had a little bit of a break, but then they find themselves dabbling right back into it. Here, Wolves, they do find the opener. Robbie is gone, but they were able to find the opener a couple of times before as well, and it didn't quite have a result. It's actually been on this map an 100% tell on how the round has gone. Every single opening kill has then led to a round win. And I mean, they need absolutely everything to go in towards their favor right now. Robbie gone. Freck is enjoying a time on the other side, but now with the Grim removed as well, what do they have as that pinch on a lead-in? Only really the Dockerby calls and the E1D. They're trying to slip their way in, but he's already gone. He's off across Dragon, off across the races, and off back towards the site itself.
Swapping mags!
Wolves attempting that same clear from VIP. And this time they have been able to actually take VIP, as
Keep our position.
BDS have had to evac that position. Build Kiba though. That's not going to give you much protection, is it?
I hate Keybering.
Maybe for Doki. That would be fine for Doki, but I don't think it's going to do P4 any
Graves.
It's not going to do him any favors.
They got my toy.
A minute 20. Wolves. Slow progress, slow pressure. P4 pulls themselves back as well, and as Lasmo gets Noodle, they even things up on the push. Virtue gets Creeds, and Tyrant has to keep the pressure up, gets himself a second for the round itself. But, as Leader finds P4, the slip of the Azami is caught out. Lasmo and Virtue, they opened the map being that strong pairing for BDS. That back line, those defensive heroes and those planters swing out. Virtue gets a double, ties us up. Azza and Leader with 2 flashes, no kit currently. They're going to try and creep their way closer and closer towards it, but look at the positions that they've opted to play here. Lasmo could also even go underneath with a C4 if they really wanted to. They've got the red light, and they swing out on towards it. Virtue gets 1, but it's a 1 versus 1. Leader alone to keep Wolves fighting, to give them an opportunity. Sprays centimeters from Lasmo, who pulls himself back. It's either side, rotated round. Lasmo sends BDS along, and they are soaring. BDS, they find themselves getting that last seat in the Munich Major for EML. Wolves, unfortunately, their story ends here, Demo.